Alright, hello everybody and welcome to iCommand, and Season 9 for IACP is upon us. The full set has been spoiled as of last week, and we've also got all the cards have been uploaded into Vassal with a new Vassal module thanks to Trevor, aka There's No Try. And it looks like Tabletop Admiral, as of right now, has just been updated with all the cards. So you can actually build all your new Season 9 lists in Tabletop Admiral. Thanks again to both of those folks for getting that done for us. Do keep in mind they both have Patreon pages. So if you want to support them, check out the description in the video. Also, we of course have a Patreon ourselves for this channel. Definitely check out patreon.com/IACommand if you want to support the channel. Anyway, we're going to go through all the cards. The nice thing about this season is that it's a short season. We realized that we weren't doing great with the super long seasons we'd been doing in the past. The past two, I guess this is like the past two seasons, we switched to that. We were doing 9 months, then we switched to a year. We noticed the engagement was falling off with these long 4-month playtest periods and 8 months with no cards. So what we've done is we've taken what had become like 30 to 35 card seasons that were 1 year. We've chopped them into two halves basically. So as you saw there briefly, we've got about 17 individual cards total this season if you count every single card, and that's about half. We had, I think, 34 last season. So there's going to be less cards overall, but we're going to get more cards more frequently. So now the new system is we're going to be doing public play testing for 2 months, only 2 updates during that time, and then people get to play for 4 months. No changes, no new cards, and then after the 4 months, the new season will come out, and people will get new content. And I think that's going to work a lot better. I've even noticed just with this season, like it was just starting to people. I think we're just starting to get bored right before Season 9 dropped, and it's kind of revitalized everyone, got everybody paying attention again. And there's some fun stuff in this season, but you will notice there's going to be some wonkiness in terms of card counts for each faction. It doesn't quite divide perfectly. Part of that is the restrictions that I put on the steering committee for how many cards we would want to have in a season, because really it just comes down to whether I can handle the workload or not. So I tried to set a number of slots that I thought I could handle each season and not fall too far behind like I was last season with stuff. So because of that, there's some wonkiness. Also, we started off with what was Season 9, basically became Season 9 and 10. So there's going to be stuff coming out 6 months from now in Season 10 that were supposed to come out with this season, with this batch. But we had to split them up based on what we felt like was important for things to get tested either first before the other things in the season or together. So there's some cards that needed to get tested together. So that's why you're going to see some factions have a little less cards, some have more. So that's all it is. But we're still committed to faction balance for IACP. But a huge thank you to all the steering committee members who helped put this season together. Honestly, Josh, Wesley, the second flock, Derek, and Morgan, they did so much of the work on designing all these cards. I kind of faded into the background a little bit this season, I think, and just kind of let them take over because they had so many good designs. I've been designing cards for this game for 3, 4, 5, 6, for like 5 seasons now, starting in Season 3. And so we did use a couple of my designs that were very old that got slipped in there, but Josh and Second Flock and Derek and I think Morgan all have designs either this season or next season that they have spent a lot of time and a lot of hard work on getting right, making it play fun, making it balanced, and making it evocative of the source material that we're working with. So huge thank you to the steering committee members. I know I get a lot of the public attention because I'm the one with the YouTube channel, but a lot of the credit for all this stuff that they've made goes to these guys. So give them a round of applause. Anyway, let's get into the cards. I'm going to be following my set list here. So we're going to be starting off with the command cards, the faction generic ones, and then we're going to get into the actual factions, starting with Rebel, and then moving through to Empire, and then finally Scum. So starting us off here, we have new command card for Brawlers called Beatdown. This is 0 points, and by the way, I'm going to have Tabletop Admiral open here so I can kind of go through some of the cards that work well with these. Anyway, Beatdown, 0 point Brawler card used during your activation. While a figure in this group is attacking during this group's activation, apply +1 damage to the attack results. So basically what this is saying is that when you play this, for the rest of that group's activation, all of their attacks are going to do +1 damage. So this is a card that was created for brawlers, obviously, but there's a lot of brawlers that have kind of weak attacks, but they get to do multiple attacks per round, and they don't always do that great, or they're not that popular. Zeb is a good example of this. He's a brawler where he can do a red-green attack and he can do his red-red attack. The problem with when you split up your damage into 2 attacks is that you're giving the defender twice the number of defense dice, right? Because every time you attack, they get to roll a defense dice. So especially against figures that have really high defenses, doing this is not great. That being said, against something with paper defenses or no defense, these double attacks are really strong. So that's why, it made sense to put it on a command card. A command card is one and done. You play it and it's gone. It's only good for 1 activation the whole game. Generally, you can run this with Afra, but there's some fun thing. I think the other thing, the main person, and I think we should just talk about her right now, is combining it with Jin. Jin Urso has always kind of struggled. We've known she's like just pretty good. She's not amazing, but she was always good enough at 7. And I think there was a desire to kind of give her a way to get more play. Ultimately, we actually decided to just include her in the season and cost her down 1 point. So she used to cost 7. We're costing her down to 6 points for season 9. We're going to play test it. This is one of the ones I mentioned. We wanted to make sure these cards got tested together because Beatdown is really designed for figures like Jin Urso, like Zeb, a few other good brawlers. The card, you'll notice, also is worded so that it works with multi-figure groups. This was kind of a later change, but it did get tested. I think the main ones to worry about with this one is the Riot Troopers. It's going to be really good with Riots, especially if you give them a squad upgrade, because it does work for everything in the group that they're in. I don't think I have. Let's see. Can we search for? I think the only squad upgrade they get would be Flame Troopers, but the Flame Trooper will benefit from the +1 damage. But like Tusken Raiders, we wanted to be able to benefit from it wherever their card is. Gamorreans. There's just a lot of brawlers that we've upgraded for IACP, either recosted or redesigned, that they don't get a ton of play by players. So we wanted to give something a little spicy for people to play with those cards. Another fun thing you can do with this card, there's a creature card. Where is it? Here, Feral Swipes. I just like this combo. I think it's kind of hilarious. You can use this with either the Rancor to do 3 red attacks that all have +1 damage, so you're getting +3 damage from your beatdown here. Or you could use this with the Wampa to do 2 red attacks. Let's see. 2 red attacks that will each have, if you play beatdown, will each have +3 damage. So that seems pretty fun. And you still get to do it's only 1 action as opposed to pummel. I think that's about it. So this one will be interesting, especially as a 0 point card. Next command card is Retaliation. So this is a 1 point Guardian command card. When used when a friendly figure is defeated, to either become focused, gain 2 damage power tokens, or move up to 2 spaces. So it felt like it's been a long time since we had a Guardian command card, and this is kind of a design we've seen with other cards like Extra Protection, but this is completely, or it's more, I think the most similar thing you compare this to would be like Chewbacca's Debts Repaid, but it doesn't give you the full reactivation because that's a 3-point card. But instead it gives you a little bonus whenever another friendly figure is defeated. And it's any friendly figure anywhere on the map. It doesn't have to be within X number of spaces. But the 2 movement is nice because a lot of Guardians are kind of melee focused, I should say. And so having the option to get some extra movement from this, and then suddenly you're within range now to counterattack whoever, like one of your opponent's figures, is really, it can be really nice. But if you've already got a good attack set up, just go ahead and give focus or give 2 damage power tokens. It's a really nice card that is reactive and might catch the opponent off guard. All right, next one is a new Technician card. Now, Technicians we just introduced last season as a new trait, and this is the one new support they're getting this season. Actually started off as just a droid card, but we thought, oh, we need to give Technician something for this season since we split everything up. So, droid or Technician, 2 points, special action, perform an attack. You may draw line of sight from a friendly droid within 4 spaces, but still measure range from this figure. Apply 2 accuracy and +1 surge to the attack results. So if that sounds familiar to you, and you've been playing IACP for a little bit, this is actually really similar to Cassian Andor's card that lets you draw line of sight from a friendly figure. Now, Cassian's is unrestricted on range. It also costs 1 instead of 2, but there's so many more combinations you can do with network connections because any droid or Technician can play it. It's not limited to one specific one. So you can have, I think this is especially good with Chewbacca. You don't want to be too far away because his range isn't that amazing. One of the problems with Chewbacca is you want to activate him early, but you don't want to put him up in danger because the opponent's just going to try and kill him so you don't get debts repaid. But with this, you can, if you've got a droid that has line of sight to somebody at the start of the round, you can play this, you get extra accuracy from it, you attack with that, basically from that droid's line of sight, and you can attack with Chewbacca and then keep Chewbacca back out of sight and safe, and then your opponent will want to kill the droid that you used to attack them, and then you get to play debts repaid, and it's awesome. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this. Some better than others, I would say, like IG-88 you're kind of losing out. IG-11 you're losing out because you're not doing rapid fire if you're using this, but stuff like HK Assassins are really good with this. Forlom can be good. HK-47 can be really good with this because you do get the query effect still, as well as the conclusion effect. Probe droids can be really good with this. Dark troopers are quite good with this, since they do have the surge for +2 accuracy and they'll often be focused. So yeah, this is a fun one for Technicians and for droids, and it gives you a reason to build a list with both of them together, because obviously if you have a list that is mostly droids and Technicians, you can pretty much draw a line of sight from anything that's within 4 spaces of you. Alright, so that's it for the faction neutral command cards this season. We've got one more command card that is technically neutral, but it's for the Rebellion. And this is an upgrade to the Meditation card. So this is now 3 points, Rebel Force user only. Once during your next activation, so it costs an action, special action. Once during your next activation, you may move up to 4 spaces and perform an attack without spending an action. So I've put the old version up on the screen here. That was basically let you bank an action to take an extra action during your next activation. Problem with this was you could never really use that one additional action to perform an additional attack. So you weren't getting extra attacks from it. You basically were getting an extra movement action only, which is okay, especially if you use it with Channel the Force to make sure you get it first round. But nobody ever played it. There's just too much competition for the Force user command card deck, and we were a bit miffed that Rebel Force users didn't have their own three cost command card to kind of top off their tool set. A lot of the strongest traits get a 3-point card that kind of shows the peak of their power, stuff like Assassinate, Grenadier, On the Lam, Iron Will for Guardians from IACP, New Orders for Leaders. Like, these cards are really, really powerful, and they cost 3 points, and they're like, this is why you should build a list around this trait, is because you can get this super powerful but very expensive card. So that's what Meditation's doing. It also kind of took inspiration from like Davith's command card Vanish, giving you just free movement. So the way this works, by the way, is you play the card during your activation. You have to keep track of it that you played it. Then during your very next activation, it doesn't have to be next round. It could be like if you Son of Skywalker with Luke, it could be his very next activation. Anytime during that next activation, you can say, okay, I'm going to use this meditation ability. I get to move up to 4 spaces and perform an attack. And you can do that in either order. You can move the 4 spaces and then attack, or you could attack and then move the 4 spaces if you were so inclined. And you do that without spending an action, which means that you can attack. That attack you get is free, and you can still use one of your actions to perform your normal attack for the round. So this is going to be very powerful. I think we're also going to see a lot of folks using Channel the Force to get this into their hand. Now, of course, that's going to cost 3 strain when you do that, because it costs 3, so it feels kind of fair in that way. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of Channel the Force being used in Force user lists going forward to go with this card, which is very powerful. Now, it is also very telegraphed. Especially if you're using Channel the Force to get it on turn 1, if you see your opponent do that, you got to think, okay, they're going to try and set up a play with Meditation and for next round, so maybe just hang back a little bit, or try not to give them a really good Meditation activation. It definitely gets worse the later on in the game you try to play it, because it's just like so much happens in round 2. If your Force users die before round 3, before they get to benefit from it, etc., it can fall off pretty quick. So I think Channel of Force is going to be really good to make sure you have it early. Alright, so that's our command card. So let's get into our new figures for the Rebellion. And we are very excited because this season marks the introduction of the Ewoks. So we finally have some Ewoks in IACP, and these guys are pretty nasty. There are 5 points, 2 figure costs for 3 figures. They have +2 accuracy and reach. So they have accuracy and reach. Good thing to note that. They have a double surge for +2 damage. They have a surge for Pierce 1 and a surge for Hide. They have 3 health. They're speed 4. They have a white defense dice, and they have a melee attack of blue and yellow. They have 2 abilities. First one is Ambush. It says after deployment, you become hidden, and while performing a melee attack, apply Pierce 1 to the attack results if you are hidden. So these guys really like to be hidden. And then special action for Sling Barrage. Perform a ranged attack using your printed attack pool. Add 1 yellow die to the attack pool for each other figure in your group with line of sight to the defender. Then each of those figures becomes stunned. Limit once per group per round. So once per round, one of the figures in the group can basically perform a ranged attack that is up to blue, yellow, yellow, yellow. So 4 dice on top of if they're focused or hidden. But you have to have all of the other Ewok warriors have line of sight to that target. So what's going to happen a lot of time is, if you're not careful, you're going to have a group of these guys run up to you. 2 of them are going to smack you with their spears for pretty good damage if they're hidden. And then the final one's going to come up and hit you with their slingshot and have all of them join the attack, and then they'll all be stunned. So yeah, we're interested to see how people like these. It's been a long time coming, trying to get Ewoks into the game. We've had a lot of different ideas put forward over the past few seasons. We had some people just like make a whole bunch of them and try to include like a whole little mini army of them. I think probably inspired by Legion. But in the end, we decided we really wanted to condense it down to just one deployment card, because that's how it would probably have been done in the original game. Like, you probably wouldn't have a bunch, like 4 or 5 different Ewok deployment cards the way they did in Legion. And I think it came out really well. I think there's some tweaking to be done with the numbers for sure. We definitely need more playtesting. I think we've played a few games. I know we played a few games with these, but they definitely need the public's playtesting. And by the way, if you're a campaign player who's interested in these, we did make a campaign mission to go along with them to earn them as a side mission as allies, because they do work in campaign. I mean, I don't know how balanced they are. I can't say that. But they do technically have no issue with being played in campaign. They don't interact with command cards or victory points or anything like that that is normally not work in only works in skirmish. So at the last minute, we were like, hey, we should make a campaign mission to go with these when we spoil them. And huge credit to Wesley and the second flock, who or Wesley is the second flock, who put together this mission on very short notice. And then I put together the actual PDF for it. So definitely check that out. That's over on the website on ia-continuityproject.com. It's the article called Caravan of Courage. It has the link to the campaign mission. All right, let's move on because we've got a few of these to talk about. As far as list building for these guys, I have no idea. I mean, they're definitely super strong with the new brawler card. As far as like brawlers you can build with, you've got plenty of options in Rebels. I mean, Cara Dune, the Wookiee Warriors even could be really fun to build with them. You got tons of options, so definitely looking forward to seeing what people do with those. All right, next up we have Bodhi Rook. So he is the pilot. He's a 2-cost figure technician. He's got 3 health, 4 speed, a white defense dice, and green and yellow ranged attack. His abilities are +1 accuracy, surge for +2 accuracy, surge to gain 1 damage power token, surge for +1 damage, and pierce 1. And he has 2 abilities, which are smooth landing. So for those of you who have played the game for a while, you'll recognize that from Hera's deployment card. So it says, after deployment, you and each adjacent friendly figure gain 1 movement point. And then his new ability is Air Support. When a friendly figure spends a power token while attacking, apply +2 accuracy to the attack results. So this is actually our first 2-point figure we've ever designed for IACP. It's a point cost slot we've avoided for the most part. We got close with Bib, although he actually started at 4 points, and then we realized he needed to come down to 3, and that's been working really well. But this is the first 2-point card we made, and he is definitely geared around the other Rogue One figures. So if you've seen the cards we've made for Rogue One, Baze Malbus is one. He gets a lot of power tokens. Again, Jyn Erso. See if I can. Gives herself power tokens and another friendly figure power tokens with trust goes both ways. Cassian gives power tokens with Strike Team, and he gains power tokens with his own Surge abilities. Does Chirrut give power tokens? I think Chirrut might be the only one that doesn't use power tokens. Although I think in his original design he did. Yeah, Chirrut's the only one. So, Bodhi is definitely designed with the other Rogue One figures in mind to kind of give them that extra accuracy. He also plays really well with Kotun, obviously, since she's giving out power tokens. And then anything that gives out power tokens, even in other factions, I could see him being played with Temporary Alliance in a scum list with something like, what are those guys called? The spy, the Claudite. Claudite Shapeshifter, which can give out tokens with their Senator form, all for that nice +2 accuracy bonus. But also he's just now you get access to that smooth landing ability for just 2 points. So actually, if you have R2D2 in your list and you don't want to pay for 4 points for Hera and don't want to bring Gideon for some reason, but you don't want to be stuck in a situation where R2 cannot get to a terminal because it's one space too far away, Bodhi could actually be a really good card to bring for that for just 2 points. Alright, let's move on. I think we've got one more card, and it's a big one for Rebels. Oh, we got to talk about his command card. So, 0 points for Bodhi Rick. Special action, distribute 2 damage power tokens among friendly figures. And if you are adjacent to a terminal, you gain 2 VPs. So, pretty good. Just gaining 2 VPs from being next to a terminal for 0 points makes this quite good and worth bringing. And then he gives out damage power tokens so that more figures can take advantage of. Oh, did I close it? I closed it. So that more figures can take advantage of the +2 accuracy ability. Alright, so there's Jin. We talked about her. There we go. New Hope. So this is our first foray into a Spectre Cell-ish type of card that rewards you for building a certain type of list. So in this one, you can only use this card if you have Han Solo, Luke for Hero of the Rebellion. So it says, let me read it. It says, I'm going to read it the other way. I don't know why they wrote it this way, but include this card in your army only if each group in your army has one of the following names or sub-names. And so we have Han Solo, Hero of the Rebellion, that's another one, Leia Organa, Chewbacca, Obi-Wan Kenobi, R2-D2, and C-3PO. And for those who are wondering, what the heck is Hero of the Rebellion? Oh, that's Luke Skywalker. And he actually costs 7 in IACP. And he gained an attachment as well, the 0-point Heir to the Jedi, which gives him +1 damage on his ranged attacks and focuses him whenever he uses the Saber Strike special action. And this is -2 points. So if you're wondering how that maths out, I believe all of them together is like 40. Let's see. Let's do that. Since I have the list builder open. Luke is 7. Obi-Wan. You definitely can't fit all of them with this. That was one of the ideas, is we wanted it to be like you can still build your list. It's not like Spectre Cell where your list is just pre-built for you. There we go. So it's 48 points if you include everybody. So with the -2, it goes down to 46. So you have to cut one of the bigger figures like Luke or Leia or Obi-Wan. So if you cut Obi-Wan, it's 39. So you can bring 1 point. If you cut Chewie, you can actually bring quite a bit. I think 35. So you can bring 5 points of upgrades if you cut Chewie. So that'll be interesting to see what people decide to play. But I haven't mentioned what it actually does. In addition to -2, so you can include more of those figures in a list, it says exhaust this card to allow a friendly figure to play a command card whose restriction matches the name of another deployment card in your army. So we've seen this ability before. We've seen it on Mara Jade, and we've not seen it on Leia's command card, although that only works for friendly Force users. But basically what it's doing is, once per turn, you get to basically let your other figures play these powerful, unique figure command cards. And I'm trying to think of what all of them are. 3PO. It's kind of funny that you can use those. There, that's all of them. So we've got Debts Repaid. You can play. This is, I think, the really powerful one is Debts Repaid, right? Because normally your opponent can stop you from using this card by just killing Chewie first. But now if you kill Chewie first, I'll play Debts Repaid with Luke Skywalker. And then after I activate my Focus Luke Skywalker again, I'll go ahead and play Son of Skywalker with him. Or vice versa. If you kill somebody besides Chewie, I'll play Debts Replay with Chewie, and then I'll exhaust the card to play Son of Skywalker with Chewbacca. You can do other things. If you can use Make My Own Luck with any of your figures to get them. Basically, turns this into a 2-point take initiative that doesn't exhaust anything and can't be negationed. So that's super strong. I don't know if any of the other smaller ones. There's another gets weird. Oh, there's Obi-Wan. I forgot about Obi-Wan. What does he do? Use the start of the round. Until the end of the round, hostile figures cannot declare attacks targeting you unless they are within 3 spaces of you. I mean, that's pretty good. It's not super powerful like the other ones, but you put that on somebody like Han, you can really change how you position him. But anyway, like I was saying, let's see. Terminal network's kind of funny. You could actually have 3PO use this if you wanted to. What is etiquette and protocol? I think choose one of those, both in your line of sight. That's funny. You could actually, this is something funny you could do with this, is with C-3PO's card. It doesn't say choose another friendly figure, so 3PO can choose himself. So what you could do is you could have one of your figures attack somebody, and then play, like you could have Han attack somebody, and then play etiquette and protocol and name Han and that figure you just attacked, and now they can't attack you back, which is kind of funny. Let's see. So yeah, there's some really powerful combos you can do with this, and the -2 should be just enough to let. And for those who don't know, A New Hope, this is referring to the group of heroes that was in the first movie and went to the Death Star to rescue Leia. So really, really fun card design, and we'll see if hopefully it's not broken like Spectre Cell was, but I think we've got a game log that has already come in now from players using this card in a list. So look forward to seeing that. I'm going to try and get that up by tomorrow. Alright, so I think that's it for Rebels, and now we are moving into Imperials. So we have the fifth brother, who's 8 points for a Force User Hunter Brawler. He's got 14 health, 4 speed, black defense dice, and a melee attack of red, blue, blue. Surge for +2 damage, surge for Pierce 3, and Cleave 1. And he has 3 abilities. First one is Vigor, which we have seen on Ahsoka. And that is, at the start of your activation, you may gain 2 movement points or or gain 1 block token. And then he has Relentless Pursuit. When you declare an attack, the target suffers 1 strain. And of course, this is an homage to the Relentless ability, which is normally on ranged attackers. But since this is a melee figure, we just took out the stipulation on being within 3 spaces. And then we've got his special action ability, Sith Acolyte. So it lets you search your command deck for a card with the Force User or Brawler trait that costs 2 or less, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your command deck. So this is the real reason to take this. You can basically put together the Parting Blow combo every game when you need it. This is something that Vader is going to be particularly interested in if you're a Vader player, because you can find any of the pieces pretty much. You can find Looking for a Fight, you can find Parting Blow, you can find Dark Energy, or you can find, what you can't find is, you can't find Lure of the Dark Side. That was really important because that card's super strong and really annoying if you can get it round 1. So we tried to avoid that. That's why the limit of 2 or less exists. But you can find Force Surge. You can find Force any of the Force User cards. You can actually find. I remember I was talking about this with the steering committee. You can find the new Knowledge and Defense, because this does not stipulate you can only get Imperial command cards. You can find Knowledge and Defense and then start discarding it to Zillow technique, and then because Knowledge and Defense says your Force users, not your Rebel Force users, but any of your Force users have the ability to surge to redraw it, you can kind of start using it as free Zillow technique fodder. I'm very interested to see if people try out that combo, because it's a little bit counterintuitive to be using a rebel card, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, that's the fifth brother. We normally are very strict and careful about command card draw in Empire, but we're experimenting here with a version of command card draw that is like, R2D2 draws a card for 3 points in an action, so that's like half of his actions. What does it look like if you have an 8-point figure that can do something similar, but he can't draw any cards? Like, he can't draw just any cards, he can only draw specific cards. So you have to build your deck around him. So we're looking at that. Alright, so his command card is 1 point, you will not deny me. Special action, choose a hostile figure within 3 spaces. The chosen figure becomes stunned, then perform an attack with a different target. This one's based around some of his what he did in the novels, and kind of what he does when he fights against Ahsoka, or before Ahsoka appears. The flavor is like some weakling challenges him and he just blows him away with the Force. Also based kind of on what he does to Reva in the Obi-Wan show. But just an interesting card. Basically, you have to have 2 targets with hostile figure targets, and then one of them you have to be adjacent to. The other one you can just stun. Yeah, not a whole bunch of crazy combos with this, but an interesting way to stun a target. Alright, our next one is going to be the Imperial Officer, and this is going to be a redo of an old card, but not a whole lot has changed here. Instead of 5 points, it's gone down to 4. Has 1 extra health compared to the original, and it now surges for +2 damage instead of +1. But otherwise, you've got the same executive order. Gives you a full move or an attack to a figure within 2 spaces. It's still a leader, but now it's 4 points instead of 5. So this one will be interesting. I think there's a lot of cool things you can do, specifically with lists that are using the new general's ranks from Season 5. When you want to get those extra out-of-activation attacks or movements, you've got now a very cheap option. Obviously, it's not as cheap as a 2-point officer, which can give you now a full move if you're targeting something with general's ranks. But this can now give you access to an attack for 4 points. It's kind of like a mini version of Emperor Palpatine, but with less extra stuff going on, since you don't have Force Lightning and you don't have Tempt, blah blah blah. It'll be interesting to see how this compares to General Soren, who is 5 points, and his main thing is he gives the special action to give a figure an attack. But Soren shares his surge abilities, so that's really big for droids who want to be able to get focused up. So there we go. That is going to be it for Imperials. And now finally into Scum. We have our first figure is going to be Fennec Shand. 5 points for a Hunter Guardian. She has 8 health, speed 5, 2 white dice, which is kind of the first time we've ever done that, and 3 blue dice ranged attack. Again, first time we've ever done that. She has Surge for +2 damage, Surge for Pierce 2, and Professional. She has Sharpshooter. Whenever you declare an attack, if the target is 5 or more spaces away, you become focused. Yes. So what are we doing? What is happening here? This is 5 points for a 4 dice figure with 2 white defense dice, speed 5, and a reroll, and the 2 best surge abilities you can give to a ranged figure. Well, she has a downside ability, which is called Bounty. When you're defeated, your opponent gains 3 additional VP. So she gives out VP equal to an 8-point figure. So that's kind of the whole twist on this card. Is she is a bit of a glass cannon. I mean, she has double white dice, but white dice can blank very easily. And if she goes down, she gives away 8 health, or 8 VPs. So that's Fennec. I think she's interesting. She's just definitely generated a lot of interesting discussion amongst the community about how many points a figure is worth, and how much you can have a figure do, and whether a figure is worth its points only if you kill it. She's very strong if she never dies. If she doesn't die, then she's only costing you 5 out of your whole army, so that makes her quite powerful. If she does die, she gives up 8. We've mathed her out to be worth about 6 or 7 points in terms of what those types of figures usually do. Like if you look at like Onar, right, what that figure is doing, or Hondo, who is often rolling 3 dice with a +2 modifier and is 5 speed. So she's definitely, I think, the one that's going to probably get tweaked the most going into the first update. I think it's just hard to math it out, and we need a lot more data than what the steering committee can do internally in terms of playtesting to see how she's going to play out, how often she makes her points back, etc. How annoying the double white dice is going to be. That's all things we're going to have to test out with her. But she does have a command card, which is called Dangerous Prey. It's 2 points, and it says use after an attack targeting you is resolved. If the attacker is adjacent to you, it suffers 2 damage. Then move up to 5 spaces. And we have reminder text here that says you can move even if the attacker was not adjacent. So this is going to be really good with her because, like I said, for Fennec to be really strong, she needs to not die. And so this is a way to keep Fennec alive. But you still have to take an attack to use it. But if you do, all of a sudden she is going to be out of there and is going to be back to safety. So it makes it really hard for the opponent. This is kind of like a fixed On the Lamb almost, I think. Like if they made On the Lamb do this, but without the damage, like I don't think anybody would hate it nearly as much, right? But it would still be really powerful because it would be like you could put Han out for an end of round attack, and then he takes 1 attack, and then you move him out of sight, and now he's safe. But you still had to take a risk by taking 1 attack at least. But that's what we're going to see Fennec doing is with this probably is you put her out there, you take a snipe attack, end of round, your opponent maybe take initiative, and they're not quite able to finish her off, and then you play this so she's not taking extra attacks from the opponent. So very powerful positioning card. Kind of similar to Hit and Run too. In fact, I think this will have a direct competition in Hit and Run in Fennec Shand lists, right? Because with Hit and Run you can do something very similar. You're not getting 5 movement, you're only getting 3. But this only costs 1 point, and you don't have to expose her to an attack when you do it. So I think both are powerful. Of course, Dangerous Prey is more reactive. So like if you did position her well, but your opponent like just got a really good end of round positioning and then is going to hit you start a round with a bunch of attacks, and there was nothing you could really do about it, this will dig you out of that issue. But if you're trying to set up so that you can snipe something and then not have to deal with being attacked back, I think Hit and Run is probably going to be the better card. And next up we have another card from the Book of Boba show, which is Krrsantan. This is an 8-point Wookiee Brawler Hunter, formerly Black Krrsantan, as I understand it from the comic books, but he is named Krrsantan in the new TV shows. He's 13 health, speed 4. He has 1 black defense dice. He has a ranged attack with red, green, green. He's got +1 block and a built-in Pierce 2. He's got Surge for +1 damage and Bleed, and Surge for +2 accuracy. And he has 2 abilities. The first one is Full of Rage. When you declare an attack, if you have suffered 3 or more damage, become focused. And then Electrified Knuckle Dusters. Once during your activation, choose an adjacent figure and roll 1 blue die. That figure suffers damage equal to the damage results. Then, if you rolled 1 or more surge results, the figure becomes stunned. So he has a very similar ability to Chewbacca's Smash, or Slam, and Cara Dune's Smash, but instead of pushing figures around, he can stun them. And then he is rolling a ridiculous amount of attack dice. If he's damaged, he's going to be rolling 4 dice, and he has an innate Pierce 2. But his surge abilities are pretty bad, so it kind of makes up for it. He's also about as beefy as Garkon is, about as hard to kill with the +1 block. And then Hunter Brawler is a really good combination. Also, he is a Wookiee Hunter, which means he can play Overwhelming Impact on top of... He can't play Overwhelming Impact with Assassinate because of the limitations on that. but he can absolutely play it with other hunter cards like Tools for the Job, stuff like that. Yeah, Krrsantan's a powerhouse. Uh, he definitely hits like a truck, and it'll be interesting to see again what the results are of the wider playtesting. It seems that his durability was an issue and it was an exploitable issue in internal playtesting. So that's something that we're gonna have to see from our community playtesting. Is does he hit too hard for his points cost, and are his traits going to be a problem? Because those are also a big debate internally. Is do we give? Obviously, he's a Wookiee, but which one do we give him? Do we give him the hunter trait? Do we give him the brawler trait? We weren't quite sure. So give him all of them. See how they play together. Krrsantan, he is scary. I gotta say. And then I will also say a lot of his design work went into this card, which is his command card. Originally was going to be part of his deployment card, but we realized that it would actually work better as a command card. So disarm, 1 point. It says use during your activation to put this card into play. If you do, choose an adjacent hostile figure to suffer 1 damage and become bleeding and weakened. The chosen figure cannot discard the weakened condition. So that the bottom ability is what happens while it's in play, and then the top ability is what happens when you put it into play. So what this is representing is permanent weakened. And it was so hard trying to write out how to make a condition be permanent on a deployment card, especially when a figure is defeated, the abilities on its deployment card are no longer active. So it stops being permanent when Krrsantan dies, and that's not what we wanted. So we realized if we put it on a command card, the command card can stick around even if Krrsantan dies, and so now we'll have permanent weakened on something. Also, it limits it to one. I think it was limited to once per mission on the deployment card. So having it on a command card makes this a lot more manageable. And I will talk about the next card. Let's see. I think we're down to our last card here for Season 9. And this one's a fun one because this is one that I do want to give credit to Jake Peterson, former steering committee member. He actually designed this card a while ago, and while we were rummaging through some of our old designs, we found it and thought we could play with it. And so hats off to Jake for this idea that we have now refined for Season 9. This is the Scavenged Walker. -1 point for an attachment for the ATST or the ATDP only, and mind you, this is for the Scum faction. It says include one of the named groups in your army and attach this card to it. You lose assault and cannot re-roll attack dice, and at the end of the round you may perform an attack. Apply -1 to the attack results. So for those who don't know, the ATST has been reduced from 14 points down to 10 points in IACP. And then you've got the ATDP, which is the normal 9 points. So this is another one that was, well, this is inspired by The Mandalorian. I think it was Season 2 that had this episode with the walker that had been scavenged by the raiders to terrorize a village or something. Anyway, this is kind of where we went with giving more vehicle and massive figures some love for other factions. It's important to note that you don't get access to Imperial retrofitting with this card, because that is an Imperial skirmish upgrade, so you can only run that in an Empire list, and this is a mercenary skirmish upgrade, so you can only have this in a mercenary list. So you are giving up access to that. That's part of why we have the -1 cost there, because we felt like you're kind of losing 2 points of value, right? Or maybe 1 point of value when you can't bring Imperial retrofitting. So to make up for that, we are giving, at least for the ATST, we're giving it a points discount. So the ATST will cost 9 points if you bring it with this card, and the ATDP will cost only 8 points. Now the ATDP, normally you can't use it with retrofitting, but the thing that the ATDP loses access to going into mercenaries is generals ranks. That's what you normally see on the ATDP to give it some extra movement from officers. So that's the reason why the ATDP also benefits from it. Now the ATDP is also and the ATST both lose access to their extra attack abilities and their rerolls. It just felt like it was too strong with the, so we didn't have the bonus attack on there originally. Originally it was just that top line of text. But if we felt like there just wasn't enough incentive to bring those two units into a scum list without access to retrofitting and generals ranks, which is what makes them playable and good in Empire lists. So we wanted to add something to it that gave it a little more pop and made it be like, not only made it more attractive to bring those lists or figures into a mercenary list, but also made them feel and play differently than they do when they're played in an Empire list, and a little more aggressive as well. So that's where the end of round attack came in. It ended up being really strong with that extra bonus end of round attack, so that's where the -1 damage, and then eventually taking assault away from the DP and the reroll away from the ATST came in, because it was a little too, we felt it was a little too powerful. Yeah, it'll be really fun. It's really fun though to play with this. It does make them feel totally different than when you play them in Empire. And there's some fun list building things you can do with this. So, looking forward to seeing people playing some massive vehicles in their scum lists. But yeah, I think that's it. That's it for Season 9, everybody. I hope you guys enjoy the new cards. Again, check out the link to Vassal. And thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you playtesting. Oh, playtesting league starts January 15th, so that's next week, Monday. So make sure you sign up. I'll post a link to the Roll Better link to sign up for that. That generally runs for the 2 months, but you can drop in and out. It's very loosey-goosey. It's not about winning, it's about testing and giving us data and getting your feedback. So, hope to see you guys for the Playtest League, and we will see you in Season 9.